Hi everyone, welcome back to Crime and Coffee with Rochelle. We are now going to watch the shit show of Wendy Adelson, now at her brother's trial, Charlie Adelson. And, here we go again. This woman, she does my head in. So, anybody that is not familiar with this is Charlie Adelson here. This is Wendy's brother, the middle child of Donna and Harvey Adelson. This is Daniel Rashbaum. He's an interesting character. So let's get started for another time with Wendy.
Everyone can be seated. State, please call your next witness.
State calls Wendy Adelson.
Let's all just take a minute and appreciate that Wendy has a new outfit on. Wendy has a new costume. So it kind of plays with the whole thing of the two trials where she didn't want it to look like she was in two different trials. She wanted it to look like she was one trial because now she has a new outfit on.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I wonder if she's getting frequent flyer miles. Because we know she can't drive by herself. She's got to have mommy with her.
Please say and spell your name.
Wendy Adelson, WENDI ADELSON.
Where are you from, Ms. Adelson?
I'm originally from Coral Springs, Florida.
And where do you live now?
I currently live in Miami.
How are you employed?
Now kind of part-time. I do asylum work and I fundraise for nonprofit organizations.
Are you?
Let's just stop it there. Look at how good of a person I am. Look at all the good things that I do. Look at me and feel bad for me and remember all the good things I do. Blah, blah,
An
blah.
attorney?
By training, yes.
Okay. How long have you been a member of the Florida Bar?
Since I graduated and took the bar in 2006.
And are you here today pursuant to a subpoena?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And that subpoena confers use and derivative use immunity to you, so nothing you say could be used against you in the future.
That is correct.
Okay. That doesn't mean you have full immunity from prosecution, but nothing you say here and nothing derived from it could be used in that prosecution. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding.
Okay. Did you know Daniel Markell?
Yes.
How did you know him?
We were married.
When did you meet Mr. Markell?
We met in the fall of my second year of law school, so fall of 2004.
And where did you meet?
We met in Washington, D.C. He was working there, and I was looking into a summer job in Washington.
And when did you get married?
In February of 2006.
And when did you live here in Tallahassee?
We lived in Tallahassee my third year of law school, so from August of 2005 until I think around maybe May or June of 2006. And then we moved to Miami for a year because Danny was interested in working at the University of Miami. Mm-hmm. He did not get the job at University of Miami, and so we moved back here in 2007 and lived here until 2014.
And where were the two of you employed during the time you lived here in Tallahassee?
I was employed at the FSU Center for Human Rights, and Danny was employed at FSU Law School.
Were you both professors at FSU College of Law?
Yes.
And Were you living on Trescott Drive at that time?
When we were married, we lived, I think we rented a house before that, but at some point, maybe in 2008, we moved to Trescott Drive.
And is that the home that he was still living in at the time that he was killed?
That is correct.
Okay, and you were no longer living there, is that correct?
I was no longer living there.
All right, at the time he was killed, you two had children together, yes?
Yes.
And how many children did you have?
We have 2 children.
And what are their ages now?
They are 13 and 14.
What about at the time of their dad's death?
At the time of their dad's death, they were 4 and 3.
When did you separate from Professor Markell?
In the fall of 2012.
Whose decision was it to separate?
It was my decision.
Let's just stop it there. I don't know about anybody else, but when I watched this, just this beginning part, I'm like, she's been coached. Somebody has been coaching her because she's answering more direct. She's not so far, she's not giving elaborate stories to answers. So far, she's been coached. Now let's see how long this coaching lasts with her.
And was part of the reason for the separation the two of you having differing views on how to raise your kids as far as within the Jewish faith?
I mean, it was a small part, but it was part of it.
Okay, that seemed to be something that came up a lot in your communication, so that's why I ask about it. What was the difference of opinion on that?
I mean, when we first met and started dating, Danny wasn't as observant or as religious as he became over time. And so the difference in our perspective on raising kids was about dietary choices and attendance at synagogue, things like that.
So in general, he wanted to raise the children more strictly in terms of the faith than you.
That is correct.
Did you move out of the marital home while Mr. Markell was away on a business trip?
I did, yes.
All right. And did he know that you were moving out when he left for the business trip?
No, he did not.
Where did you go when you left the marital home?
I rented a home in Tallahassee.
Where was that? Do you remember the address?
Aqua Ridge Way?
3303 sound right?
That's right.
Okay. And what was the custody arrangement once you moved out of the marital home?
I mean, in the beginning, until we had a formal custody arrangement, we were just finding ways to share custody. I remember that first weekend his parents came, so I made sure he had the children all weekend while his parents were visiting from Canada. But eventually we had a 50-50 shared custody arrangement.
I made
Do
sure
you
of it.
remember exactly what that looked like? Was it week on, week off, or something more complicated?
It was something more complicated. In the summertime, it was week on, week off. During the weeks, it was I think what they called like a 2-2 split, with Wednesday night being an overnight and then the weekends being every other weekend.
All right, but roughly 50-50.
50-50, but that was the split.
Okay. And I want to show you what's been introduced into evidence, State's Exhibit 56. I know you've had a chance to take a look at this before, but if you'll just kind of thumb through it and tell me if you recognize it.
Sure.
Third time seeing the binder. Look at him smirking. He smiles a lot in this trial for somebody that's life is over.
Do you recognize the exhibit?
I do.
Is it a fair and accurate copy of your divorce file?
It looks like it, yes.
All right. And is it fair to say this was a contentious litigation process that you had with your ex?
It was.
Very
And
different from
I want
before.
to ask you about a specific filing in there. It's on begins on page 43. And it's in reference to a filing on January 14th of 2013 where you were looking to relocate with the minor children. Do you recall that particular filing?
I recall the filing. You said 43. I'm not sure oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. On the bottom, there should be page numbers for you.
Yes. Yes, I recognize it.
Okay, and that's the filing in reference to your motion for relocation?
Yes.
Okay, and did you file this motion with the intent to not be successful?
I'm sorry, I don't
It's
understand the
been
question.
suggested that you never thought that was going to be successful, did you? Or
I think
not?
I thought there was a small chance that it would be successful, but not very likely, no.
Okay, and weren't you thinking, well, maybe Danny would be happy working somewhere else because he's mentioned applying elsewhere, so maybe he'll allow the relocation? Were you
Well,
thinking
he
that?
and I talked about the relocation. So when we talked about it, he thought, well, if I can live nearby in Miami, that might work, and then I could commute to FSU. I didn't mean for him to leave FSU, but he wanted to leave FSU at some point, so that
So
was just a matter of time.
So you thought it might be successful?
Sure, I mean, I thought it was possible, but not likely.
All right, and page 46 of that document, paragraph E references the job offer. The wife also desires to relocate to South Florida in order to provide a better quality of life for the children by increasing their access to close family and providing more stability and consistency. Who is the close family in South Florida?
The close family would have been my mom and my dad and my brother.
And which brother is that?
My brother that's here today.
Charlie Adelson?
That's correct.
Okay. What's your mom's name?
My mom's name is Donna.
Donna Adelson?
Yes, that's
What
her
a-
name.
What about your dad?
My dad's name is Harvey.
And where did Donna and Harvey live back in the time frame between 2012 and 2016?
They lived at the home I grew up in Coral Springs.
And how far do they live away from you currently as we sit here today?
Currently, depends on Miami traffic, but anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour.
Right. And what kind of a relationship do you have with your parents as we sit here today?
I have a good relationship with my parents.
And has that always been the case?
I would say so.
I would say so.
Can you describe the relationship that your mom has
So
with your
freaking
boys?
mousy.
I think it's very loving. I think she's a very dedicated grandmother.
She spends a lot of time with them, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
And when
She
they were
does,
little and
yeah.
you first moved there after Danny's death, how much time was she spending with them?
When I moved there after Danny's death in 2014,
How much time was your mom spending with the boys?
I mean, we were all living together at that point. So, I mean, we were spending every day together.
How were your parents employed? Are they retired now?
They're retired now.
What are they retired from?
My dad was a dentist, and my mom used to coordinate, kind of be like an office administrator at his practice.
And did she write the checks at the practice? Paychecks?
Yes. She handled all the bookkeeping.
What was the name of the practice?
The name changed over the years.
Oh,
but
hard.
Probably the name when they retired was the Adelson Institute.
And were your parents wealthy at the time that your husband was murdered?
I mean, my parents worked their whole lives to support us, right? So I think the business did well for a period of time.
About $2 million in profit each year between 2013 and 2016,
They
sound right?
never talked to me about money, so I have no idea how much the business made at any.
And yeah, here we are, yet again. Third trial. She cannot even just say, yes, the business did well. Anytime it comes to money, she is... Look at how I froze this. Seriously, look what this is. I need to do a screen grab. This is perfect. This is a picture perfect of, that's a good pause. That's a very good pause of her. Oh. that just got me off of the whole subject of finances. But she's yet again just won't admit to it.
Given point.
Did you discuss your marital problems with your mom at all?
I did, yeah.
Okay, what about the resulting legal issues? Was your mom read in on those things?
I mean, I definitely updated her about the results of the relocation when that petition got denied, but not kind of the ins and outs of every part of our divorce.
What about your dad? Was he invested in your divorce status?
I think the same as my mom, just worried about me and worried about the boys.
Mm-hmm. What about your brother? Did he take an interest in the ins and outs of your divorce?
No, not really.
Did he need to protect you from Dan Markel?
No, I mean, I don't think I need protection.
Were you physically in danger from Dan Markel?
No, I wasn't in danger.
But remember,
The
she calls him gibberish because she's
litigation
scared.
revolving around the divorce and the subsequent issues that arose, did that impact your family back in South Florida?
I mean, only to the extent that I think they felt bad for what I was going through, but
I want to show you an exhibit
I
that I
love
marked as
Georgia.
State's Exhibit 59. Sorry, 57, Your Honor. I think I've seen this one before as well. Does that one look familiar?
I don't remember it, to be honest. It's from 10 years ago.
Take a moment to look through it.
Sure.
When you're done, I'll let
Just
opposing
take all
counsel
these
take a look
big
at it. But go ahead and
things
let
that
us
she
know when you're
can't
done reviewing
remember. But watch, she'll remember all the little things. Insequential things she'll remember. Big things, can't. Getting a little hot under the collar there, aren't we, Charlie? You know, I always wonder too if Donna and Harvey are glued watching these. Watching all, like, Charlie would have watched the first trial, not the second trial. But if they would have been watching these trials, I do know they were watching the Charlie trial because it's Donna talks about it in the jail calls.
Okay.
So soft spoken. Okay. I call the jury. I would like to know if she ever made eye contact with her brother. I know there's a few podcasters that were there, YouTubers, that had stated that she never
Are those
once looked at her
emails
brother.
Between you and your mother.
I don't think I responded. I think they're just emails from my mom to me. No?
Okay, mostly all from your mom.
Yeah.
Okay, and the email address says, I think it's something like Wendy Harvey. Can you tell from the content that it's your mom typing rather than your dad?
Yeah, the email's Donna Harvey, my two parents' names, so they've been married over 50 years, so they have a joint email address. So it's from both of them.
Okay, so what I want to draw your attention to is page 2 of that exhibit, that first paragraph there above the word response. Did you have an opportunity to read that?
I read it real fast,
Kind of
but
scanned.
I can read it.
And what I want to draw your attention to is specifically the part that reads, your father has made numerous trips by plane for weekends and changing the patient's schedules around so he can continue to spend significant time with the children. Did you?
Are you objecting, Mr. Rauschbaum?
I just didn't hear it get admitted into evidence.
Judge, at this time, I'd ask to move this exhibit into evidence.
Any
Number I've already
objection?
No objection.
I just want to pause this because I was watching Katie Kool-Lady, and she was actually in here at the courthouse. Sorry, I was about to say jailhouse, but she was at the courthouse, and she was talking about Rashbaum, Daniel. So Daniel here, and how he would just stand up and not say nothing. And Judge Everett would have to say, "Are you objecting, Mr. Rashbaum?" It was so funny when she was saying it, and I never noticed when I was watching these the first time. And now it just stood out. So I had to stop and say that she's completely right. Like he would just stand there, not say nothing, and Judge Everett, "Are you objecting, Mr. Rashbaum?" That is hilarious. Like, wow.
It's
Page
57.
is admitted. Go ahead.
Thank you. So that paragraph, isn't that paragraph going into detail about how the issues surrounding your divorce and litigation is financially impacting in a negative way your parents' business?
That's what my mom says here, yes.
Okay, and it also says, additionally, this loss of income affects my family because my older brother, also a dentist, purchased the practice from my father in mid-July 2012. He has a monthly payment to make to my father based on the sale of the practice. It isn't fair to him to have decreasing monthly income statements from the practice due to my parents spending so much time here in Tallahassee. So this is an argument that your mom is proposing, right, to help you, give you an idea of what might persuade the courts to allow the relocation. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that's what she was doing, yes.
Okay, and she's indicating that both your parents as well as your brother have suffered financially as a result of you not being able to relocate.
Yes.
Okay. And on page, do you have page numbers in the bottom right corner of your exhibit?
I have them in the top so I can see.
Okay, so well, let me look. Give me a moment. So it'll be the second email in your packet, page 1 of 3.
Okay,
Do you see that?
I see that page.
Okay, and there's a rest of your life highlighted or underlined in the center and in bold. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, right before that, it reads, however, the rest of your life and consequently Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. You need to be a good actress you can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Jibbers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet. Who's Jibbers?
Jibbers, she's referring to Danny.
And was Jibbers a name he went by or just something you called him behind his back?
Jibbers was a silly nickname that I gave him during the divorce proceedings when he was being pretty scary and threatening, and it kind of made me feel less scared of him.
Okay, so not something you called him to his face.
No.
But
Scared
that was a
and
word that was only used to
threatening because
describe
he was
him.
smarter than her.
Yes, it was a nickname.
Okay. So in this, Again, your mom is referencing how everyone's life is being affected by this relocation, including your brother, Charlie. Do you agree with that?
That is what she said, yes.
All right. Is your mom overprotective of you?
Yes.
All right. And is it fair to say she's, a little on the controlling side?
I don't think she's controlling, but she's definitely overprotective.
Did she ever try to micromanage your life?
Maybe, yeah.
Did she have an interest in who you were dating and who you weren't dating and who you should be dating when you were
I
single?
think she was usually disappointed that I wasn't dating more.
Okay. For example,
there's
isn't
so
it
much to
true
say
that
there.
she would not let you drive to and from Tallahassee to South Florida?
Well, I used to drive before I had the boys, but they were young, and she preferred to come with me and give me some extra support.
So what would that look like if you were going to take a trip to South Florida? Would they come up here and get you, or?
No, sometimes I would go myself with the kids, but I was breastfeeding both of them, so it usually looked like me breastfeeding a child while I entertained the other in the Okahumpka rest stop. So
Okay.
it was a lot. It was helpful to have some backup.
All right, and so that time frame you'd be referencing
And
as
there
like the
goes all the control.
Because not around the time of Danny's death, you wouldn't have still been breastfeeding, would you?
If Lincoln was 3, no, I would have stopped maybe the year before.
Okay.
So
And
maybe
wasn't
2012, 2013.
okay, and wasn't it true that around the time of the death they were still doing this practice where they would prefer to drive you to and from South Florida?
I mean, not every time, but sometimes.
Okay. And would your mom sometimes enlist your brother Charlie to convince you to do certain things in your personal life?
Can't really think of an example of that.
Well, dating Dave was a big one on some of the materials I had.
Yeah, people like Dave.
All right, and your mom really liked Dave.
Yeah, everyone liked Dave, but we were just friends.
Okay. Did she try? So she would try to get Charlie to convince you to date a certain person.
I don't think she was getting Charlie to convince me to date Dave. I think everyone liked Dave.
All right, and would she try to get Charlie to convince you to do certain things as far as your professional life? What jobs to take?
No, I don't
She
think
didn't
so.
do that. Would she try to get Charlie to do certain things like advise you on investment decisions, whether or not you were going to buy a house, for example?
I don't think so. I don't remember that. Danny and I made that decision together.
Once you had left Dan and you were living separately, did you look into purchasing a home here in Tallahassee?
I did, yeah.
And did your brother Charlie convince you not to do that?
I don't remember him convincing me not to. The only reason why I didn't was because I was waiting on the money from Danny from the settlement, and he didn't pay it, so I couldn't afford the house.
And your mom didn't want you to buy the house, did she?
That's not true. My parents were looking to buy a house in Tallahassee as well.
Okay. Did you have... Strike.
It almost looked like she looked at Georgia going, I bet you didn't know that little tidbit of information. Come on, Wendy. Like, even Charlie here. Even Charlie is looking like, there's a good one. You got a good one in there, sis. Way to go, sis. Meanwhile, she's throwing him and his parents under the bus this whole time. Way to go, sis. She didn't have that information.
Generally speaking, does your mom manipulate the personal lives of her children?
No.
Is your mom, like, if she's really upset about something or worked up about something, is that something that your brother Charlie's going to hear a lot about? Who's going to hear more of it, you or Charlie?
Well, if my mom's upset with me, probably Charlie. And if she's upset with Charlie, probably me.
Okay, so do you get a lot of that? Do you hear a lot about, let's go back, let's go to before the murder. Did you get a lot of Donna just giving you an earful about what Charlie needs to be doing?
Probably at some point.
What was Charlie doing with his personal life? What did his personal life look like
At what point?
before the murder?
I mean, at what period of time before?
All of them. Wasn't it just a revolving door of girlfriends?
Right, but my mom didn't complain to me about that.
She didn't mind that with him.
I don't understand the question.
She didn't mind if he went from girl to girl to girl. That was acceptable.
She didn't really weigh in on it, no.
Who talked to her more, you or Charlie?
Charlie.
A lot more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time of Dan Markel's murder, were your parents extremely angry with Dan?
At that point, no. They were in a much better place.
I want to direct your attention to an interview that was conducted on,
Thank you.
I think this was your law enforcement interview. So July 18th, 2014. And I'm specifically for court and counsel looking at page 27, lines 11 and 12.
You almost really need a tub of popcorn because this is a wreck.
I've got it open
Need
to the
something.
page, but you can flip around if you need to familiarize yourself.
Sure.
And I'll take that exhibit if you want.
Do you want me to flip through or just look at this one page?
If you'll just look at that one page for me, not that binder.
Oh, it's a new binder, Wendy. You're just curious of what's in that binder.
Let me get to where you are. So page 27 there, lines 11 and 12, and I've got it highlighted for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Says, Ms. Adelson, you know, my parents are, you know, very angry toward him. Is that true?
Was that
Isn't
true?
that what you said? Your parents were very angry toward Dan.
Can I read the rest of the sentence?
Sure.
So I say, you know, my parents are very angry towards him, but even when they're around my kids, they would never say a bad word about my kid's father.
And then on page,
No, I don't know about you guys, but was that the question? No, Wendy, it wasn't the question. The question was, were your parents very angry with Dan at the time frame of the murder? And she goes, not at that time. Everything was getting so much better. Blah, blah, blah. Reads this. This was her interview. And she said in the room, well, you know, my parents are very angry with him. Didn't ask about the children, what they say about the children. I know why she's throwing this in here. She's throwing this in here because of the grandma thing, the grandma motion. But for some reason in her pea brain thinks by saying, but they would never say anything bad around my children, had anything to do with that question. Dear God in heaven, give us the strength to deal with Wendy Adelson.
page 288, line 24 through page 289, line 1. And that's going to be, yeah.
Watch her start reading. She starts reading while she just
You
wants
say,
to know
you
what's in
know,
that
it's like
binder.
my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else. Is that what you said?
That is what I said.
And that's because he hurt you, right?
And I was saying that in the context of talking to law enforcement for hours and hours and trying to help them figure out who might be responsible.
Right. And who did you tell them might be responsible?
Well, I told them many, many people. But are you asking about this particular
Basically
moment right
throwing
here?
your parents
You
under the
told them
bus.
your family might be responsible.
Or
didn't
potentially
you?
someone to do with a former student or his current girlfriend.
Oh.
I mentioned lots of people that.
Through this video, you have to really pay attention to these little sounds that Georgia makes. I will stand here and say, Georgia is a queen. I'm going to put it back a little bit. She makes these little audible sounds, and it's amazing. Every time Wendy's lying about something, you'll hear Georgia make these little sounds. I'm going to go back here just a bit.
They would never say a bad word about my kid's father.
And then on page 288, line 24 through page 289, line 1, and that's going to be, yeah. Didn't you say, it's like my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else? Is that what you said?
That is what I said.
And that's because he hurt you, right?
And I was saying that in the context of talking to law enforcement for hours and hours and trying to help them figure out who might be responsible.
Right. And who did you tell them might be responsible?
Well, I told them many, many people. But are you asking about this particular moment right here?
You told them your family might be responsible.
Or
didn't
potentially
you?
someone to do with a former student or his current girlfriend. I mentioned lots of people that I thought could be responsible.
Okay. And of the lots of people that could have been responsible, your family was one.
Yep.
Because they might have done this thinking it would help you. I mean, that's what happened, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Your family had your ex-husband killed to try to help you, didn't they?
No, that's completely untrue.
In
The mouse is
back
going
to the
away.
divorce, the petition where Danny is responding to your petition for the motion to relocate. Are you familiar with that filing, or do you need to take a look at it?
I need to take a look at it.
All right, it's going to be page 79 through 101, and this is back to our exhibit 56.
3 trials. Still can't remember the relocation motion. Gotta take a look at it. You should know what page it's on by now.
And again, that was the filing begins on page 79. I'm specifically interested in 82.
Right back.
And in this filing, doesn't Mr. Markel say, quote, the husband affirmatively alleges that the wife helped herself to non-marital assets, including money and stocks owned prior to marriage, as well as numerous personal non-marital belongings of the husband, such as luggage, bicycle, tennis racket, and family heirlooms. The wife has refused to return these items or to allow the husband into her home to see what other personal belongings were taken without his permission or acquiescence. So my point is, he's accusing you of theft in this paragraph.
Those are the words that are here, yes.
Yeah, and he's very adamantly objecting to your relocation, right? On page 82, it says the sole stated reason the wife seeks to relocate is so that she can be closer to her parents. Was being near your parents the sole reason that you wanted to relocate?
No,
It wasn't the sole reason stated in your petition?
it wasn't the sole reason stated in my petition, and it wasn't the sole reason that he and I talked about before I filed the motion to relocate.
Why was he so adamant and so confident that this was the real reason you wanted to be down there?
I think there's a lot of things in these pleadings that are not true, so just because it says something doesn't make it true.
Sure, but did he know that your mom was just grinding on this issue of trying to get you down there?
He would have had no
that-
idea.
He wouldn't have been, that wouldn't have been known to him?
I don't think so.
But he was accusing you in these pleadings of all kind of stuff, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's true, but hiding financial assets, failing to disclose things, kidnapping his kids in the middle of, his business trip, all those sorts of things, right?
Yes, you said lots of things.
All right, and you said a lot of things too. There's filings going both ways that are pretty venomous. Would you agree with that?
I would not agree with that.
Yours were pleasant.
I'm not saying divorce filings are pleasant, but mine were not venomous.
Okay. Did your mother, Donna Adelson, review the filing in which Dan Markell is accusing you of this theft and all this stuff?
I don't remember if she did.
What about the one where Dan Markell is asking that your mother not be permitted to have unsupervised visitation with the kids?
My mom never saw that because after he filed that, he then asked my parents to babysit the kids. And my mom baked him banana bread, gave him a hug goodbye. So there was nothing.
The last trial, she said her mom was upset about it. Now her mom didn't know about it at all. And baked him banana bread. That's one powerful banana bread, let me tell you.
Nothing truthful about that pleading that he filed, and my mom never saw it.
Why do you think he filed that?
He was really angry at me for leaving him.
Okay, so he didn't
really
really
angry.
want to limit your mom's visitation with the kids.
No.
And
he
that's
asked for her to
evidence.
babysit after he filed that.
Evidenced by the banana bread. and so she didn't even know about
George
that
is a
filing.
queen.
She never knew about it.
Okay. And when she laid all those options out in that email to you about other options that you could take to secure the relocation, as far as bribing, remember that? Converting the Christian children to Christianity, remember that suggestion?
I sure do.
Okay. What did she put in there that she viewed as your most non-negotiable and most important part of your divorce?
I don't know. Do you have something I can see?
States Exhibit 57.
Again, Wendy, you said last time you didn't know. They gave you it. You're like, oh, relocation. Now you're saying you don't know again.
And it is page 1.
Bloody hell.
Page 1, paragraph 2.
So you want me to read what she said here?
I want you to answer the question. What was the most important part?
Of the divorce for my mom.
Yes.
It says here that for her it was relocation.
All right. And did you have 2 8-hour mediations
Ding,
in your
ding, ding,
divorce?
We had 2 very long mediations. I don't remember exactly how long they were, but they
Did
felt
they
like a very
result
long
in a
time.
resolution?
No.
Was Mr. Markell seeking to depose your mom as part of the divorce?
I don't remember that.
Do you know if it ever happened?
I don't think it happened. I don't remember it.
Was the prospect of that upsetting to your mom?
I don't think so. I don't remember it, so I don't remember talking with her about it or...
Did your mom call Dan any disparaging names around this time frame?
Well, I just read them in the emails, but I
Okay.
don't remember them independently.
Okay. Did she call him an asshole?
Yes.
A narcissist? A
Yes.
bully?
Yes.
Religious zealot?
Yes.
Bastard?
That I don't remember.
Page 5.
Okay.
There he goes. Chuckles again.
Is it page 5 from the first email?
Yes, if you'll just go through by the physical pages.
Wipe that smile off your face there, Chuckles.
I see. Yes.
I'm sorry, what was your answer?
Yes.
Fucker?
Yes.
Should have kept that fan there.
But in all the filings made on your behalf by the different lawyers that you had, and all of the emails that your mom sent, he was never described as abusive.
I mean, he was described as emotionally abusive, yes.
Can you show me where he was described as emotionally abusive in any of those items?
Well, not by my mom, but in the pleadings.
Okay, show me that.
It's going to take me a while to find it.
Okay, well, it's
You want me
not
to-
in there, but you can get back to me
Well,
with it.
it is in there.
Objection, Your Honor.
What is your objection?
The comment, she's not testifying.
Hold on, please approve.
Yes, comment by Ms. Kappelman. You may continue.
So would you have to review the whole file in order to find that, or could you give us a starting point of which filing it might be located in?
It might be under the petition to relocate. It might be under the initial divorce proceedings.
Okay.
It wouldn't be in emails from my mom, but it would take a while to find it. It might be in the depositions.
Okay, did you view yourself as being stuck here in Tallahassee once the relocation was denied?
I didn't. I mean, I had a really nice life here.
Oh,
I did not view myself as being stuck.
Would you please turn to page 176 in that exhibit in front of you? I think it's highlighted for you. Did you describe yourself in that filing as being stuck in Tallahassee?
I don't see it. You said it was highlighted, but there's nothing highlighted.
Okay, 176 on the page. I didn't highlight it for you. Okay, just a moment.
I see the word stuck. I found it.
Okay. So did you describe, at least in one occasion, being stuck in Tallahassee?
No, can I read the sentence?
Sure.
So it says, the husband has made it difficult for the wife with her colleagues at her current position due to his statements and actions, and the husband's intent is to relocate to a larger area at some point. So the wife is merely stuck in Tallahassee until the husband decides that the time is right for him to leave.
All right.
Meaning,
And had he accepted a job anywhere else by the time that he was murdered?
no, he hadn't yet been offered a job, but he was always looking.
Okay. So he was just going to move and just let you have the kids at that point?
He probably would have done what I did, which is have a conversation and see if it was a place that made sense for both of us to live.
And would you have moved to wherever he got a great job and started a new life there?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
so you can see right here. Perfect timing on freezing Wendy. You can see right here why the murder happened. Because no matter what, Dan Markel was not going to allow his children to live without him. And hey, you can't blame him. He's going to be a dad. He wants to be a dad. He always wanted to be a dad. So what Wendy's saying here is wherever Dan was getting a job, there was always going to be a battle between the two of them. You guarantee he was going to get this great job, maybe even being a professor at Harvard. And do you think she was going to say, oh yeah, let's go. I'll move there and all that. Do you think she was going to say that? No, she wasn't going to say that. She was going to put every roadblock. And you know what? Look, it's an 800-page divorce argument here. 800 pages. They were back and forth at each other. Not going to say Dan wasn't back and forth. He was just very smart. So it was always going to be tit for tat. It was always going to be. And Wendy knew this, and Wendy knew that he had to be gone for her to have say. This is exactly why this murder happened.
Did you like Tallahassee?
I did.
And you said, I think you did say this, but let me clarify. Was your mom aware of the order denying relocation?
My mom was aware of the order denying
And
relocation.
what about your brother, Charlie? Was he aware of that as well?
I'm
If you
sure
know?
my mom would have said something to him.
All right, so did your mom suggest any ways that you might coerce Dan Markel to let you move with the kids to South Florida?
Yes, I think we talked about that before.
We did, and for this I'm referring back to those emails. and in particular, the bribe. So another bribe to get him to allow relocation. I'm on page 5 of the first email for the defense. Another bribe to get him to allow relocation should be the offer of plane tickets so that he can fly back and forth, right? So you're going to potentially offer this big monetary benefit that would allow him to fly back and forth to work. Is that the idea?
I never said that I was going to do any of that.
Okay, was that
No,
the
of
idea
course she
that your
didn't.
mom had?
That was the idea.
She
All right,
wanted
and the
him
amount
out
of
her
the
life
bribe is going to
completely.
be, or was at least discussed as being $1 million. Is that right?
That is what they said.
Okay, and did you agree with that?
No.
Would that have worked?
I have no idea if it would have worked, but
You think he might have taken $1 million to let his kids go?
well, he wasn't letting his kids go. He would have moved to South Florida and he would have commuted back and forth to his job. So maybe,
Well, then why wasn't it offered?
because I didn't want to do it.
All right, what about the
Bingo.
idea that you could try to threaten Dan to convert the kids to Christianity so that they can fit into the Bible Belt here in Tallahassee? Is that something your mom suggested in these emails?
My mom did suggest that.
Okay, and specifically, this is on page 7 of the exhibit. Let Jibbers know that your children will be baptized in the Catholic Church. Have a picture made of them in front of the church, all that kind of thing. That's what your mom suggested at one time.
She did, yes.
Okay, and did you do any of those things?
No, I don't even think I responded to it.
Do you know whether the defendant, your brother Charlie, was supportive of the plan to convert them or pose as converting them to
I have
Christianity?
no idea. I don't think he was particularly involved in this round of my mom's
On
emails.
page 11 of the exhibit, there's an indication from your mom that Charlie at least has discussed this with her and maybe is somewhat supportive. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done,
This
and
is
they
shameful.
did what they needed to do to accomplish it. You have a job to get done in a very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if
There
it was
goes
an act of
Chuckles.
defiance that would show Jibbers that he's, all caps and bold, not in control. So it just seems like your mom was pretty extreme about this situation of getting you relocated. Can
I
you
think
agree
she
with
was-
that?
Yeah.
All right, and Charlie was at least consulted on it or had offered some information about it.
Well, that was my mom's rendition, so I don't know if that's what actually happened or that was her perception.
Sure. Were you involved in the effort to consult a lawyer about the bribe and whether that was going to be legal?
I wasn't the lawyer consulted in that.
No. Were you involved in consulting a lawyer with your
No.
mom? Okay. Do you know for sure if any financial offer was or was not made to Dan Markel?
I couldn't say for sure if they made it to Danny without me knowing, but I don't think so.
Is that something they would do, is try to negotiate with him behind your back or deal with this situation behind your back?
I don't think so. I think I would have known. Danny probably would have told me.
But you
Yet again, she throws them under the bus. It's unbelievable how I have a theory to what she's up to. I really, truly do. And I will, at the end, I'll say the theory, my theory. But Georgia just opened the door there. She could have shut it. Is this something they do without you knowing? I don't think so. Well, is this something they've done before, is help you without you knowing, like do stuff behind your back? I don't think so. It's not a no. It's not a no, it's not a yes, it's I'm distancing myself. I'm gonna distance myself from them and put that question mark out there that well, maybe they would do this and do it behind my back. Because, well, the implication of the murder is, would they do it behind your back without you knowing? And they were, that's what it's implied here. And she's like, Danny would let me know. Well, Danny's not going to let you know when he's murdered. Seriously, Wendy.
You definitely didn't extend any of these offers or threats.
No.
When was the divorce final?
The summer of 2013.
All right, I'm going to switch gears for a minute and talk about phone stuff. Was your cell phone collected by the police in this case after Dan was shot?
I gave the police my cell phone and asked them to search it if it could be useful.
All right, and around the time of the murder, was your number 954-803-0079?
It was.
And can you agree that the numbers, let me show you an exhibit. 59, I believe. You will? Okay. Well, I want to explain what it is. Okay. Yeah, so I talked a lot about converting to Christianity, but I didn't mention what religion you are. We talked about Dan being more religious than you are, but we didn't talk about what religion you are. So could you explain that to the jury, please?
Sure, I'm Jewish.
And Dan was as well, right?
And Danny was Jewish as well.
Okay. So I had this exhibit 59. This is not 59. Yes, that's what we did. One moment. All right, you may not be able to do this, but states 59, I've got phone numbers attributed to your family members. Obviously, you don't know the other people. Are those phone numbers accurate, if you know, for the time
Yes.
frame around the murder?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then you are also familiar with the wiretap that was conducted in this case?
Yes.
And did I provide you a disc labeled Disc 107, ask you to review some calls and see if you could authenticate the voices on those calls?
Yes.
All right, and for that, I made you a little spreadsheet, which I've marked as 61. And were you able to initial by each call indicating that the highlighted names are the voices of the people they purport to be?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I've asked to move to evidence state 61.
Any objection?
No objection, no.
State 61 is admitted.
All right, and if we can shift back to, we talked about your divorce being final. Once the divorce was final, weren't there still a lot of filings that went back and forth between both you and Dan Markel?
Yes and no. The divorce was final. We had a final settlement agreement. The agreement was I take my name off the title to the house. He pays me half the value to the house. So for within the first week, I went and took my name off the title to the house, and I waited until October when he was supposed to get back to me. He never paid me the money, and so I called and I asked what happened. That was the deal, and he said, I have compelling reasons I'm not going to pay you. And so I made one filing, a motion to enforce the settlement agreement, because he didn't do it.
Right, so you believed that he owed you money pursuant to the settlement agreement? And he was
Yes,
in violation of the settlement agreement?
yes,
And he was of the belief that you had withheld some financial things from your affidavit, and maybe he didn't owe you the money that you had previously agreed on because you had not been honest in the initial disclosures, right?
he accused my attorney of having unclean hands and committing a crime.
Yeah, and assisting you in withholding this money from the
Correct.
disclosures. Okay. All right, so I want to ask you about the motion to enforce marital settlement agreement and hold Dan Markell in contempt of court. That was filed, you may need to refresh your memory, October 31st, 2013. Give you the exhibit 56 and have you take a look at, this is going to be on 338. All right, could you just read the title, the caption of that filing?
Motion to enforce marital settlement agreement and to show cause why the former husband should not be held in contempt of court.
What does it mean to be held in contempt of court?
It means not to be doing what the court has asked you to do.
What can happen to you if you're held in contempt of court?
I don't know, really.
Could you be jailed?
I don't know.
All right, and
Okay. So, we already know she's well educated. She's went to very, very good schools. She's clerked in Washington. She's done all this. She does not know what contempt of court means. I'm not a lawyer. I know what contempt of court means. You could be put in jail. But she doesn't know this. These are the little lies. She doesn't want to be the bad person. So she doesn't want to say, oh yeah, I was going to try to get him in trouble with the courts.
and when was this filed? This was you filing it, right? I mean, you're the client.
Right.
You're asking that he be held in contempt. And
I
you don't know
filed
what
this-
that means?
I mean, at the time I filed, which was 10 years ago,
Oh, okay. Well, refresh your recollection with the
Okay.
document. Goes through 340.
Refreshing your memory with the document, still not gonna. Contempt is contempt. Georgia's just playing nice here.
okay, I have it.
Okay. So, what was it you were asking for in this motion?
It was what I just mentioned. So basically, I took my name off the title to the house. He never paid. This was asking him to pay.
Cough up the money or be held in contempt?
Yep.
Okay. And what day was this filed?
This was filed on October 31st, 2013.
All right, so Halloween of 13, and that's the same day that you backed out of the contract to purchase the house in Tallahassee, right?
I don't remember
Remember
what day that was.
Okay. Do you remember that it was your brother Charlie that specifically convinced you to back out of that particular house deal?
I don't actually. I don't remember that.
Approach and see if these text messages refresh your recollection. Okay. And you may have to look around for context
contracts, but I'm specifically looking at this one.
Okay. Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Honestly, I mean, I can read what's here, but I still don't remember
Don't
it
really
independently.
remember. And after pulling the plug on the house, there were some emails where you were saying you can't answer the phone, you're crying too hard about the house. Like you seem genuinely upset about pulling the plug on the house, but now you don't remember it?
Well, it's been 10 years,
Sure.
so a lot of terrible things have happened since then. It's hard to remember.
Not a lot of terrible things, Wendy.
Don't recall.
Just
I
one
really
thing.
liked the house and was excited about it, but it was more than I can afford at the time. That's what I remember is talking with the real estate agent and having her say we'd find another house, and it wasn't the right one.
Would you have any reason to dispute that that occurred on Halloween of 2013?
No, it probably did. I just don't remember.
Okay, and then a few months later, on February 14th of 2014, there was another filing. I want to draw your attention to page 379. I'm ask you what that document is.
Do you want me to read the title of the document?
Yes, please.
Former husband's counter motion to enforce marital settlement agreements, financial provisions, and incorporated motion for sanctions.
Do you remember this filing?
I don't remember this filing, but in anticipation of my testimony today, I refreshed and reread it.
Okay, and he accuses you in this filing of breaching the marital settlement agreement in various ways, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and committing a fraud upon the court by omitting the $200,000 in assets from your financial affidavit?
That is
in
what he
there?
was alleging.
And asked the court to sanction you?
Yes, that's what he
And-
said.
Okay, so again, you're both seeking the court to sanction each other. I mean, them's fighting words and lawyer terms, right?
Well, I was filing a motion to enforce a settlement agreement, so I don't think that's really fighting words. That's just asking the court to complete what it already said it wanted to do.
Okay. And on page 379, Dan suggests that the court send a strong message about your malfeasance by awarding him the entirety of the undisclosed assets of over $200,000, right?
That is what he asked for.
Okay, and then on March 10th of 2014, on page 437, do you respond with your motion to dismiss the former husband's counter motion to enforce the marital settlement agreement that we just talked about?
I'm sorry, what is the page number?
437.
I'm not familiar with this, but do you want me to read through it?
Could you read the caption aloud, please?
Sure. Motion to dismiss the former husband's counter motion to enforce marital settlement agreements, financial provisions, and incorporated motion for sanctions for failure to state a cause of action, and motion to strike as a sham pleading, and motion to strike as redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous pleading.
And then if you'll go to page 439, do you see a paragraph that begins, the vast majority of the former husband's motion?
Actually, don't see that. On page 439?
Yes, ma'am. I think I have it pulled out. in one of
On number 8.
Yeah, the vast majority of the former husband's motion contains allegations that are redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous. Yada, yada. He's making false and immaterial statements against you. His pleadings only prove that he is a disgruntled former husband who cannot move past this disillusion. So it's getting personal. Would you agree with that?
My attorney here is responding to his pleading, which was over the top.
And this is over the top, right?
I don't think so, no.
Then 6 days later, Dan files another motion seeking action against your mother, and that's the one we've already touched on. That's page 441. Is that right?
Page
Nothing-
441.
Yes, ma'am.
It's always
Yes,
Dan,
that's what we talked
not
about.
her.
Okay. Former husband's counter motion for enforcement of marital settlement agreement on parenting issues and motion for contempt and sanctions. Here he's alleging, again, more violations of the marital settlement agreement, including communication between he and the boys. He wasn't happy with how much communication was happening, failing to keep him informed of where his kids are, failure to communicate about parenting decisions like the kids' schooling, diet, and extracurricular activities, and refusal to provide him access to the kids on their birthdays. So he's complaining about a lot of things associated with this, not just money stuff, it's parenting stuff too, right?
That's right.
And isn't it in this motion that,
Hold on, Ms. Kappelman.
Yes, sir.
Court reporter
Oh,
has to respond.
I said that's right.
isn't it in this motion that Dan Markell seeks to enjoin you from allowing your mother from spending time with the kids without supervision?
Can you please show me which page that's on?
450. Do you see a paragraph beginning on 3 specific occasions?
Yes, I do.
Could you read that, please?
8A, on 3 specific occasions in November 2013, the children informed Mr. Markell, Abba, Dad, Grandma says you're stupid. When queried as to why Grandma, the maternal grandmother, would say such things, the children replied jointly that it is because she says you are trying to take her sunshines away from her.
And continue, please.
In December 2013,
You don't have to say the name.
Yeah.
Your child.
my child, the younger son, further stated to Mr. Markell in front of the former wife, Abba, Grandma says she hates you. The children were visiting with their grandparents at that time.
Mr. Markell is concerned that continued exposure to such negativity forms a foundation for parental alienation. Is that what he was alleging about your mom?
That is what he is alleging in this document, yes.
And this was filed in court.
He filed this in court.
On what date?
It will be at the front of the document, right?
Yes, ma'am, page 441.
This was filed on March 26th, 2014.
And this was the filing that never got ruled on, right?
I don't believe there was any ruling on
And
this.
that's because Dan Markell was killed before the hearing, right?
I don't know when it was scheduled for.
It wasn't even scheduled yet.
Okay.
It was waiting to be scheduled when he was killed. Is it fair to say your mom was worried about this motion?
No, my mom never knew about this motion. And as I mentioned before, Danny asked my mom to babysit after filing this motion, so
And the banana bread.
I don't really believe anything that's written here.
Well, you forwarded this motion to your mother
I don't believe I
via
did.
email. In fact, you forwarded this motion to 12 different people. Your mom, Jeffrey Lacoste, Renee Griggs, Tova Walsh, Morgan Honeycutt, Gary Cohen, Miguel Edmondson, Trey Hubler, Robert Adelson, Rachel Frank,
You go,
Jared
queen,
Wright,
you go,
and
queen.
some MEHULNYC at yahoo.com. So if you weren't worried about this, why'd you send it to all these people?
I couldn't really say. It's been a long time.
And then a couple days later, we know what happened.
So this was in March. So a couple days, I sent it to people in July when Danny
You
was killed.
you sent it a couple days later.
I sent
That email to 12 different people.
in March.
Yes.
Maybe for, Mayor.
No, just keep it going. First time ever that Georgia calls her out on a lie because she's had this. And it's not something she lied about it. She called her out on it. It's not something information she gave and they were able to go out and get it. So it can still be used against her. she's been saying this whole time her mom was upset about it. Now she says, oh no, she didn't know about it. Well, then if your mom wasn't upset about it or didn't know about it, and you weren't upset about it or worried about it, then why did you forward it to 12 people? 12. And also, one of those 12 is her brother that she said in the last trial she doesn't speak to at all. But she forwarded that email to him. Oh, I don't know about anybody else, but oh my God, the day this woman gets arrested. And I don't know how he can be sitting there just and be not see my sister's gonna drown me. From the moment Dan passed away, from her interview to now, is a constant throwing them under the bus and back over them, going back over them, and coming back and going back. Like I said, I have a theory, and I'm going to do this in 2 parts because it's very long, because Rashbaum does his cross, but at the end of this, I'll give my theory of why I think Wendy keeps throwing her parents, her brother, under the bus. It's a sick feeling, and I think that this is what she's trying for, and it's unbelievable. Let's see if I can get past this.
Everyone can be seated. Ms. Adelson, you may step down for now.
Oh, okay.
We'll resume with the examination of the witness in 5 minutes.
Sure.
I think this is going to be a good place to pause this. So this will be part 1 of this because it is very long. It's a 2-hour video, and we'll do part 2 coming up. So again, thank you everybody. Please like, share, comment, share. Please share my YouTube page to your social medias, and maybe I can grow this page. And again, I'll leave this where I know I didn't do it in the last video and I felt bad afterwards, is please respect the boys, Dan Markel's boys. No bullying, this and that. We all may think Wendy's guilty. We all may want to say some really nasty things, and trust me, I'm holding back. But like Ruth Markel has asked everybody, there is no separation between mother and boys at this moment. So please show some form of respect. Don't have to respect Wendy. Let's just respect the boys. And